I am here to tell you that it pays to go to the museum. I met this week's guest visiting a local museum, engaged in a conversation with her, and discovered a fascinating person. This week, we talked to one of the people who makes storytelling possible in the 21st century. Enjoy our discussion with sound designer and entrepreneur Anise Coopwood. Anise Coopwood has a master's degree in history from Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, Illinois. As an undergraduate, she minored in music technology, and she turned that study into a burgeoning career as a sound designer. She's currently the community outreach coordinator at the Joliet Area Historical Museum, and she's also the founder of La Star Production Studios. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, Chris, should we tell him?
Yeah, I was gonna say thanks for having me again.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, for our listeners, here's what happened. First of all, we tried to do this once and we had to reschedule. And Anise was very, very patient and very professional and allowed us to kind of push it out a week or so we could have this discussion. And then we had it, and I screwed things up. And we didn't tell you exactly when we were going to do this. So you weren't prepared when we dialed up and sent you the link. And unfortunately for you and for us, we had a really nice conversation, but the recording wasn't very good. And that's because you were on the move the whole time. And it was 100% my fault. And A, I wanted to apologize. And B, I felt like we had to let our listeners know that this isn't the first time we tried to do this.
Yeah.
So, if nothing else, at least I think we're prepared for this one. We kind of did a dry run. We've had rehearsals. That's never
Right.
happened before.
Hmm.
So I met you at the Joliet Area Historical Museum for a premiere of a documentary called Rebel Music: Women of Color Who Changed the Beat. It was a film that was directed by Vicki Howard, who was at the museum for this. It was a premiere that I just ran across, found out it was going on. My wife and I decided to go because it sounded very interesting. And as we were waiting for them to cut the ribbon and get things started upstairs at the Joliet Museum, we ran across you, and I thought you were like us, just kind of wandering around, but it turns out, no, you were working. And we had a great conversation with you. You showed us a couple of the exhibits that were not part of this premiere, and eventually I handed you my card. Mainly because I thought it was an interesting conversation. I thought it'd be fun to talk to you, but also because I just had those cards printed, so I was really excited about it.
Yeah, no, that was a great night. And that's Miss VC.
VC,
VC.
excuse
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
I have it spelled correctly. Wasn't sure how to pronounce it.
It's all good. Yeah, Miss VC did such a good job with that. It was a Black and Brown Films, and they actually have a film festival. It's annual. They do. It's coming up at the end of July, in Chicago, but it's all documentaries, movie making. Like that's their thing. Then they have the exhibits as well, and they really went out all out for us. So I was really, really grateful for that collaboration with them. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really nice showing, I thought, for a show that, I mean, the museum doesn't have a giant advertising budget or anything like that. So, I think I found out about it through social media, and I was pleasantly surprised how many people were there. Now, your title at the museum is Community Outreach Coordinator. Can you tell
Hmm.
me what that means, what you do?
Yeah. So literally anything that entails engaging with the community is pretty much it. So we have community events like sometimes people who are going for office have fundraisers, they'll reach out. We have the African American Business Association. They have their events there sometimes, and that's all it's for everyone, of course, but it's entrepreneurial education. And they have a really unique story because you could contextualize them in the history of Black entrepreneurship in Joliet, which Route 66, South Chicago Street, was our Black business district. We had so many Black businesses down that strip
Ah,
from the 30s until the late 50s, early 60s. Um, and then you get 80 coming through. I think that was 19, or sorry, yeah, 1956, 57 is when that construction started. And like most things, when the interstate comes through, it tarnishes the the neighborhood businesses and things of that nature over there. So looks a lot different now. But that is where I'm from, the area of the South End, Joliet South End. Yeah, so anything like that, but then there's also field trips. I'm actually going out vending at events for education at the schools, fun, what is it, book fairs, things of that nature, just letting them know, hey, the museum's here. Let's educate your children.
Yes.
So, and those field trips are like 150 kids at max, and we are doing
Wow.
it. We are in there, locked in. I think the kids really have a good time. And I do enjoy, like I love telling stories. And as a historian myself, there's nothing like looking back to make sure that you're doing the right thing now. So,
Mhm.
and you know what, that's a critical skill too for kids to be able to do too, reflect. As a historian, you are reflecting on a large scale, whether the populace listens to your advice based on what you know. There's that, and then group tours, lots of group tours, and we
Yeah.
have like 5 or 6 tourable places you can visit. So yeah, that's that. Oh, and membership. Look, and another
Wow.
thing. Yeah, membership is another one. So we're calling members, corresponding with them, and making sure their paperwork and everything is in line. But all of that, everything that reaches our hands out to work with the community, that's what I do
So,
there.
did you have a direct hand in, for example, the premiere that I went to, Ms. Vesey's premiere? Were you involved in getting that into the museum yourself?
Absolutely, yeah. Actually, that came about when I first got promoted into the position. Um, they were, I was pretty much told like, hey, this is a sales position. You know, we are looking to, get more business, get more people in here. She taught me something. She was just going door to door at different businesses and giving out flyers to her exhibit pop up in Romeoville at this. I don't want to call it like a storage unit, but you know how you can rent out like a large, it's like a storage unit. You
Hmm.
can rent out a large building. She turned that out like she did the museum. And it
Uh,
was even huge, like large. She had vendors. There was different exhibits. You were learning different languages on one side. There was all these different books on the other side. And oh, and then we had a poetry slam. She had a poetry slam at the end. And it was just this whole event, and it was so well done. And when I came in, of course, she's like, "Oh yeah, I remember you from the museum." And I said, "Look, this is really good. Would you like to do this at the
uh,
museum? Can we schedule? What does that look like?" And so we got some time on the books, on the calendar. She came in with her team. They scouted out the scene. Now, at first, I thought it was going to be a smaller exhibit of just the Sister Rosetta Tharpe. And because I was seeing her and Big Mama Thornton, because they were both in there.
yep.
Sister Rosetta Tharpe. I thought it was only going to be that because I was so impressed with the coat and the guitar and everything that they had at the first one. But then when they came in, talk about a real creative. I saw how their minds they I feel like they never saw the space as it was. As soon as they came in, they saw only what they had in mind, and they were referencing to these things as if it was already there.
That's
So
interesting.
it was very inspiring to be around because being around that much creativity embodied. It was because they're not talking. It wasn't like a, oh, we're gonna plan to do this. It was like, okay, so that's the and like they were talking with an authority about it, what I'm saying,
Right.
of what they were gonna do. It was really inspiring, and they executed so well. She came in, gave us the flyer. I came to her thing and I said, "Hey, this is really cool. Let's have this at the museum." Because the other thing is too, I saw myself in it, and I didn't see a lot of myself at the museum at the
Mhm.
time. I was actually just finishing the Routes of Agency Black History on Joliet South End exhibit, which is a permanent exhibit about that entrepreneurial history I told you about. It's us in general though, but it's Joliet History on the South End. That's a permanent exhibit at the museum right now. I had just finished that and I was really feeling good about that. But then when I saw them, I was like, oh yeah, yo, like we gotta, press forward with this and really just show the different angles of us. But that exhibit was women of color in general.
Hmm.
Still though, women in general, you don't see a lot of in our exhibit. So I thought that was a great opportunity to shed light on things. that
Absolutely.
went overlooked previously, of course. So
And that's, you're talking to two history majors, two undergraduate history majors
hey, we're
anyway.
in here.
Yeah. Chris studied even further and got his master's in history as well.
Yay.
But these days, frankly, I feel like somehow the teaching of history has become a battleground in our country. And that was one of the things I really enjoyed and didn't realize about the Joliet Area Historical Museum. I've been there a couple times, and I've been there for fundraisers or events where a band was playing, and
Mhm.
I had a great time. But in fact, you stepped up and started talking to my wife and I as we were looking at the exhibit I think you referred to, and I must have spent a half hour just kind of winding in and out of all that. Thought it was first of all, thought it was outstanding. And you're right, you could kind of feel that theme, and then being able then to go upstairs, well, go downstairs and watch the movie, go upstairs to see the exhibit that Ms. Visi put together. It was really enjoyable. It's really it's a hidden gem, I think, in my opinion, in the city of Joliet.
Yeah.
And speaking of the city of Joliet, I think you kind of hinted at this, but as I understand it, you are a native of the city of
Yeah.
Joliet, Illinois. What brought you back here after you left for school?
Yeah. Well, Joliet, I think, and since I've come back and seen all of the other people I grew up with, people that are, elders that I grew up with, still there and learning their stories now, because I get to work with them a little bit more closer than I was when I was a kid. We have a tendency to do that. I think the people of Joliet have a love for it. We're constantly drawn back. We want to see our community thrive, like the people who are actually in the positions to build and do something for them are really minded, community minded. We are really looking to advance our I would say our populace, So that's pretty much it. I think there was just a innate drive to just support, just what do they call that? Brain drain when the youth
Yeah.
go out and then they don't come back to reinvest, and that's a really big thing is to reinvest. I know where I came from, and I know the I was blessed because there's some things in life that come to you, and you have to be blessed enough to have the mind to act on those opportunities. I was so blessed to have the mind to act on the rare things that happened in my life and take that to the next level. But there's so many of my friends, so many people that I know that I still see walking around and they're not where we all could have been.
Hmm.
Uh, and I mean, I always go back to my position at the museum right now, working with those kids. There's 150 kids, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Seeing me is probably it changes it. What do they say that you got your neural pathways and there's a
Right.
ways you think, and when you see something, sometimes it'll literally change the way your paradigm, that kind of thing. So it's just it was a great move, I guess. It just felt right. There's some things you just can't really explain. It just felt
Yeah,
right,
no, it's
you
funny
know?
too. My kids are all either just out of college or in college currently and went away. My oldest is still away, but plans to come back. But what I've seen in this city and from various walks of life as well, different high schools, different regions, parts of the city of Joliet, so many people do come back. So many people come back and do stuff, whatever it may be. They start a business or they join a business or it does seem to have the ability to draw people back. And you're right, a lot of communities, particularly because this isn't I mean, it's a pretty big city, but it's not giant. It's not Chicago by any means. And Chris and I have had a chance to talk to lots of musicians, lots of artists, people who promote music and those kind of events, and they really want to make Joliet into a place that people come to and obviously come back to as well.
Yeah.
So let me chime in because whenever we have our Joliet guests, I tend to be a little more quiet because I'm not in Joliet. But this Joliet series, which is what we should probably call it,
Yeah.
has made me really fond of Joliet and seems like a really cool community. That's a lot of what came through is the community part. So asking both of you, I mean, what is it about Joliet that you think does that? Because not a lot of towns do, like you said, and he's the brain drain, people leaving, can't wait to get away from where they grew up. I've never gone back to where I grew up. So what about it? What is it about Joliet that makes it so special that way?
Well, before you answer, Anise, I will say that I've lived here since 1993, and this is the kind of place where that means I'm still not a local. Like, I'm not considered a Joliet guy, even though I've lived here probably 4 times longer than I've lived any place else in my life. So, but I watch my kids, and to me, it's a bit magic. There's just a pride that my kids take from being from this community. And all three of my kids were public school kids here in Joliet, and they just, they're gone now, but I can see them all coming back, and they brag about the city to other people, and I'm not sure I have an explanation. I think perhaps our guest is better suited for that.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so well, yeah, I'm born and raised Joliet. I was born at the old Silver Cross Hospital,
Ah,
okay, on the east side. I mean they're both on the east side, but on the hill up there. And
yep.
no, but I would say the thing that makes Joliet like that and so community minded, one, we have a deep history. And I'll go based on what my memories as a kid was. There's just certain things that are so like maybe you guys can give me the term I'm looking for, but you got some of the streets are still brick. The light posts
Hmm.
are still old fashioned at green. We got those more murals all over the place. Like
Hmm.
when I was in college and I would tell my friends about my city, these were the things I harped on. We got all these bridges, girl, and we got what else? Oh, but then also too, this is it. I feel like this is it. We are all different in ethnics, but we all have the same ancestral history. My folks
Hmm.
migrated up here from Mississippi. There's the Slovenian museum we have. Their folks came up, immigrated over here from Slovenia. We got the Hispanics migrating up here from the Southwest area. Like everybody, and we all came up here for jobs. Like um, black folk we were here for a while, but you had the I&M Canal, and then you had the bridges being made, then you had the railroads being made, all these things, all these different jobs, because this was such a place of travel. This is a huge transport area. We have this multicultural area where all of our ancestors came up to get these jobs that were being formed. And so then you got all us younger generations now who are the descendants of these people who used to talk about where they came from with passion and not only where they came from, but how they implemented what they practiced, those customs, those cultures that they practiced when they got here. You know what I'm saying? And then there's that story of we had to practice this in spite of.
Yeah.
We weren't respected when we got here, so we had to present ourselves in a respectable way in order to get that. You don't know what it took as a migrant from this place. You don't know. But when you're a kid and you're listening to that, you're like, oh yeah, you take pride and yeah, we maintained our culture coming up here. And so Joliet is made up of a bunch of people who have similar stories. The only difference is that the it's based on the culture you're from.
Yeah.
The story is just slightly different, but this whole notion of I couldn't stay where our ancestors, of course, I couldn't stay where I was. The circumstances were just too dire. I needed to get out. I was at that point. I decided to leave. Once I got here, these are the struggles I faced. One, not only making money for my family, but also making being respected in my culture, being respected as I was. You know what I'm saying? Because not everybody who came over here wanted to assimilate. And
Hmm.
not everybody was willing to. Was I shouldn't say willing to. Not everybody was even allowed to.
Yeah.
You know what
Right.
I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
Because we think about the Slovenians, the Germans, they could come over here, all they need to do is change their language. But then, maybe you got a Hispanic person coming up, they got the dialect, or one of us, you know what I'm saying? Just because of how we look, the opportunity
Right.
for you to even have a job to learn the customs of this new land you're in was not afforded to you. So you got all these people today raised by people with those stories who have told them you should be proud of your heritage because we overcame this. That's a triumphant thing. So then the story becomes Juliet is I'm gonna say more like a bowl of salad because I heard somebody say that it was like not a mixing pot because we don't blend for real. We live next to each other, but we're still in the
Yeah.
same
Yeah. Yeah.
bowl. And so we have that, and everybody has a strong, story about their family and how they overcame things. And we have so much effort invested in the development of Joliet because the Black community did this, we have this now. Because the Mexican community did this, we have this now. Slovenian community, Polish community, Germany, we're all here, and because we have invested so much time, historic time, And it's not even just like because we were being here, like things were changed. Like, laws were changed in Joliet as a
Hmm.
result of social movements and people deciding to do things differently once they got here and protect what they brought with them. You come back because you're like,
Yeah.
nah, we're not gonna let that falter. Like even now, I can say it now. I'm like, I'm a black business owner in Joliet. I'm literally living in the legacy of those who fought to have businesses in the 1930s
Yeah.
because we have a
Like
red
that
light now.
display, like that
Yeah, yeah,
display at the museum.
exactly. So when
Absolutely.
I see that, it's like, of course I'm coming back. You know what I'm saying? Look what they did for me. You
Yeah.
know? So yeah.
Yeah, that I'll tell you what, that opens up to me an interesting discussion that we probably don't have time for because you mentioned what a transportation hub the city of Joliet is, and one of the things about Joliet, which is similar to other places I've lived over my life, is that it's a river town. And because it's a river town, particularly because it was a river town back in the day, that's where all the industry would develop because everybody needed access to water for one reason or another.
Mhm.
So, and that would bring the immigrants and it would bring travelers from other areas because there was work because of the industry.
Yeah.
And I grew up on the Ohio River for a while in Wheeling, West Virginia, and lived near Pittsburgh for a long time, and I think Joliet has a lot of those same characteristics based on what you said.
Yeah.
And then also weirdly, we've talked to people. I mentioned some of our guests have been music promoters and guys that try to get those kind of things going, and they talk about how this is such a great place to be able to set those kind of things up because of the highways and because bands are traveling here and there, east and north and south, east and west, Highway 80, Highway 55, etc. So it does still seem to have that kind of appeal even now, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something else that comes through in that conversation is, frankly, your talent as a storyteller, which I think is a pretty good segue into the Star Production Studios, which is the entrepreneurial business that you've set up. How long has that company been around?
I've been doing the work for about 6 years, but I just formally formed the business last year. So it'll
Yeah.
actually be 1 year on the 27th. Yeah.
Congratulations. That's
Yeah.
excellent. That's fantastic. Tell us what it is. What is the Star Production Studios? What do you bring to it, and what are you doing for your clients?
Yeah, so Lestar Production Studios does audio design for film, audiobooks, radio plays, anything. So you could think of scoring for film, you could think of sound effects, atmospheric things for like video games, um, and radio plays. I get those a lot. And then for museum exhibits, you can imagine museums have large archives of vinyl, DVDs, things of that nature that need to be digitized before they can be implemented into their exhibits. So that looks like not only restoring maybe old audio that's been taken outside or recorded outside that needs to be cleaned up a bit before it's presented, but also when you go to a museum or sometimes like colleges have exhibits, sometimes there's like sound rooms at the hospital, things of that nature. Anything regarding creating an experience about around, well, I should say inside of sound. That's pretty much what we do. So it's really nice. Actually, the coolest thing I just did was this last weekend. There was a fashion show. I was hired to do audio design for a fashion show because the artist had it was, I think, five different worlds they were creating, but it was over a timeline. So, and it was a African American artist, and they were going back. It was basically this whole notion of a vault, right? And having your archive suppressed, and you open the vault and it's just these different pockets of time of culture, and they went back to the 90s, and then they went to kind of the present day. They went all the way back to Africa. So when the atmosphere changed, the soundscapes is the actual term. When the soundscape changed, the models and what they wore changed as well, right? So you were put back in those time periods. So it was a really full, well, I would say it was an immersive experience for the audience watching the fashion show, because you were taken through to these time periods. But that was super cool. And what it showed me was that, doing sound design, you're not really stuck to
Yeah.
one industry. I mean, you serve the same type of person, of course, pretty much these creators, people who are engaging with the public. That's literally like that's your tribe that you work with. But the ability to be of service in all these different industries is really
Was
good,
that
really cool.
a live production that you did the sound for, or was it shot as a
No,
video that was, was presented somewhere YouTube or something along those lines?
no, so it was actually well, you know what? We did this before. So
That I knew we'd run into this at least once.
yeah. No, so basically how things usually happen, they reached out to me. They said, "Hey, we have a fashion show. We got an idea to do soundscapes in the way that you do them for it, and it's over a set of a few different eras in our history. Would you be interested in doing it?" I said, "Of course." So we had a conversation. I created it and I use Logic Pro. I'm good. I love educating, so I'm sure you guys probably have some sound engineers out there. I use Logic Pro. It was a really great setup. All of my sounds came from either free libraries or I recorded them myself. I usually use free libraries when I don't either have time to get something or I'm not going to be able to like get to a place to get that sound. You know what I'm saying? To travel to where I need to go to get that sound. But so yeah, that's pretty much what I did. I sat with the creator. I said, all right, what are we looking for? I went to the salon because there was a part in there where the clips went on beat.
Hmm.
And then the Clipper that went on beat too. They had a sound of basketball, because they really set you in the time period. So they had a basketball game going, you got to record that, things of that nature. So sat with them, came up with the game plan, and then I went to work. I put basically I found my instrumentals. I composed some stuff. You kind of playing with things. And then I added the soundscapes to it. So you had a nice vibe the entire time, and then these soundscapes are going through. But it was an MP3 or WAV file. She needed a MP3 file though for they were working with the DJ that night. And then I attended it though because I wanted to see. That was my
Sure,
first
yeah.
time being able to see that. So and it was really cool. I thought they did a really good execution of the vault and how all of the dress and they even did jump rope like in the 90s. They were all
Hmm.
in their like 90s track suits and everything. They were doing jump ropes. You know what I'm saying? Like on the stage, it was like so cool. But the entire production of that fashion show was just phenomenal. So that was really cool. But yeah, that's what it looked like. We talked about it. I made the MP3 and the Wave. They have both. And then they performed it on stage. So there was supposed to be a like a vault opening door that was supposed to be projected. But I guess, technical difficulties. They instead had two slides. It was like they created what am I thinking of? It's like an image they blow up an image on kind of like
Like,
thread, you know what I'm talking about? Not thread, cloth and
oh, okay,
Oh,
like a
it's like
screen almost, or
yes,
yeah.
yeah, like a screen, and it was huge, but it went back and forth like this to open and close
Ah.
because the it was in times of technology when it's not working right. But it
Gotta
was, what, they did
improvise.
such a yeah, and of course they had a creative solution,
Yes.
being fashion stylists and hairstylists. So yeah, and hair was phenomenal. Things were out of
Yeah,
the box. It was quite the experience. I was glad to be a part of it. So
that's
yeah,
cool.
that's an example of what we do.
Chris, for a second, when she started talking about the 90s, did you expect her to talk about how old that was and get back into the history of
I
things?
love the 90s. Yes.
Yeah, we lived through all that.
yeah.
I had 1 year in the 90s.
But it was a great year, I'm
Right.
guessing. It might have been the best year. Unfortunately, most of our stories are about the 80s, so it gets
Oh,
really old at a certain point.
you guys
Yeah,
have the best movies.
I had 4 years in the '60s. So
That's true. That's true.
Okay.
That's true. So, do you have does the business, the Star Production Studios, do you have a brick and mortar studio, storefront, that kind of thing? How do you work? How does the business work from a practical perspective?
No, one of the, you know what, I built the business on this principle of autonomy and agency. And if you do a quick search of me, everything I do has a like routes of agency. My master's thesis was children's agency in the Atlantic slave trade. Like everything is how do we do for ourselves? So one of my main principles is the ability to move. I love when you have an idea. let's meet somewhere. When I'm working, I want to, those coffee shop professionals like that. I love going to a cafe and working. I have my office here in my house. But no, I don't have a brick and mortar. But the technology that I use and what I'm doing allows me to be mobile. And since I'm
Yeah.
mobile, I get to go. I mean, the farthest I've gone to do work like this is Southern Illinois. I mean, it's just nice because you can just pack up and go. And
Mm.
I would say, and this is like literally, like I say, I'm thinking of people who may be doing the same, like similar work, and I love education. I found that there is a portable recording booth on Amazon. I think
Interesting.
it's like
Hmm.
$400. I've been really debating that because that's the one place where I would love to have, or one thing that I would love to have, and that's the one place I would love to go because right now everything is all digital. So when you come to me, you're asking to create something. I'm not necessarily recording you, not necessarily recording another. And the way I've been able to get through without that aspect is my ability to restore things because I can say, okay, cool, yeah, give me a recording of yourself saying this, and I can make it sound good.
Ah,
Like, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Because I'm good at fixing audio, I've been able to do without the necessity of recording right now. Yeah, there's this like portable booth. Of course, it's kind of like it would be like you're moving around gear, of course, but I'd rather have that and still travel than kind of anchor down. I did do an internship with my friends at Third City Studios on
Ah,
Chicago Street in Joliet. Yes.
I know
Um,
those people.
yeah. Dave and Bill, they were so, oh my gosh. I imagine myself as like a plant being watered in by the professionals in my field. And Dave, the tricks and tips he showed me as an intern with them, I still do to this day. And just the way, like the skill, like the craftsmanship of moving through your software, knowing everything, getting to things fast. And he's like he plays a lot of instruments. So being able to see him create with the artist, what does that relationship look like? It plays a lot into how I interact with clients too, because he was good at understanding if you said something was I want a sparkly sound. He'd be
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah. He's playing around and they go, oh, that's it. Okay.
Hmm.
So that's, that those are some of those gems. And Bill too. Bill did some I think both of them, they had an audio book and I think maybe they had a podcast or something. But I got to see that too. What is a long form? Editing, what does that look like? And thing with Dave, he would have it playing live, right? And like the audiobook, he'd have it playing and he'd be fixing before it got to where he was because he could see the different,
Wow.
the changes in the waves and stuff. He's going and going. So like stuff like that, that I took and I do now, and it really allows me to be super efficient. My radio plays, they're like 30 minutes long. I can get that done within a week. You know what I'm saying? And it's
Ah,
really
yeah.
good. I mean, you go listen to that. That's on NPR right now. That kind of thing. So, just their timeliness, their grittiness, and then the know-how. A lot of my generation today, I think we know where to get stuff, and I heard this before. We know where to get the information, but the older generations just have it up there. And
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
there's something important about that. I don't have
For
words to
sure.
really get to that point, but like I saw it in real time with them. And I
Yeah.
definitely, that's something I cherish. Know what you
But
know.
by the way, Chris, Third City Sound upstairs above Chicago Street Pub on in
Nice.
Joliet. So it all comes around for us when we do our Joliet series. It's Mike Trisnet deals with those guys all the time. They're very everybody works together down there. It's really kind of cool. It's very
Yeah.
very it's nice to hear
Another
that.
reason too why everybody comes back to Joliet.
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. So here's a phrase that you used, I think, the first time, Anise, we talked about you being on the podcast, and that was that what the Star Production Studios tries to do, what you try to do, is to improve and immersify a story.
Yeah.
You are a supporter of storytellers. Obviously, that's what we've been talking about. What does that phrase mean to you? I thought it was very interesting. It's not a term I've heard before in any kind of context, and I'd be interested to know how you describe that. What it is, what your role is in that regard.
Yeah. So when you're trying to tell a story, most times, because not everybody's the same, but most times you are trying to evoke emotion, you're trying to connect with your audience, Make either you're trying to be seen by them or you're trying to get them to be seen by you, right? And what you're saying. You have a message, and sometimes that message doesn't really land. And that's for a plethora of reasons, but I think one of the main reasons nowadays is that we have a short attention span. So when I say improve and immersify, I have never listened to an audiobook or one of my radio plays and been like kind of spaced out because you're like literally in it. Or like when you play a video game, you're in it because of the sounds. So
Mhm.
imagine playing, I don't know if you guys play video games, but imagine playing, I don't know, a race car game without any sound, no vroom, no
Right.
dun 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 to go, no cool music in the menu, or even with the dialogue. Can you imagine just like how bland that would be? You're reading dialogue of like what is that called? Role playing character. There's no birds in the background, no trees are going, nobody's talking, but you see a crowd, but you don't hear that, that kind of thing. Kind of you get spaced out and you're just doing it for the sake of doing it. But when you add this sound element to it, you go from just this ordinary speaking story. I mean, unless the speaker has a compelling delivery, which is not always the best, or I shouldn't say always the best. Yeah, which not every speaker has. That element of immersion really does a lot of the heavy lifting
Sure.
in that sense. But again, there's speakers out there or orators that they don't need anything. They drop you right in. I know actually there's a guy, he comes, really good friend of mine. He comes to the museum and does a one-man show and is really captivating. One-man show. And there's no sound behind him. He can do that. But we offer
Yeah, that's not
that,
everybody.
yeah, and we offer that full immersive experience where you're not just listening to somebody talk, or if you're going through a museum, you're not just going through a exhibit learning facts. You're in it. You're listening to it. I mean, the Routes of Agency exhibit that's up now has the Mount Zion vinyl playing that was created decades ago. But man, we don't have the actual date on it, but we know it was a while back because Reverend Singleton was he's on the cover and he's like everything was done under his leadership. And Reverend Singleton has a school in Joliet too. So we knew it was done a while back. That's playing. So as you're learning about this Black history, you also hear our Black voices in worship, so it
Mhm.
really adds to that emotional element, yeah, aspect, element of the exhibit and whatever story you're learning. So that's pretty much it. But if we get down pinpoint, we're pulling out those emotions through sound effects, through scoring, and really creating a whole world that you are experiencing, not just listening to.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah,
Well, I have
really cool.
monopolized because I have about a million other questions, but we want to get to our playlist, our special playlist.
So Anissa's suggestion was to choose songs where the vocals send you. So it's vocals that send me. Do you want to describe that real quick, Anise? Because I'm sure I didn't do it justice.
Now, yeah, when you're listening to a song and somebody belts something and you have to close your eyes and really take in the moment because your ears are just being blessed right now. Yes. Or again, in sound design, sometimes I'm listening to a movie or I'm watching a movie. I'm definitely listening to it. Watching watching a movie in the background because it fits so well with the scene. I'm like, like you're really feeling it. And I'm very like I feel all those emotions, may not show it. I have to be, stoic.
Sure, I got you.
But I'm stirred in there, My spirit's stirred by what I hear. So same thing. That's another way to say it too. Vocals that stir your spirit. You have to stop and enjoy.
I think that's a great theme. We've never quite touched on that, but obviously those are the kind of songs that we all like to listen to. I because this is our third run at this, I'm not sure. Do you have your list in front of you, Anise? Do you
No,
have the
I
list that
don't,
you picked?
because you guys
Well,
read it last time.
yep, and we're going to do it this time too. But I just wanted to
Okay.
check. So the very first song that you picked for the list was "They That Wait" by Fred Hammond featuring John P. Key. Why'd you pick that for the first song?
When you turn that on and you hear Fred Hammond's voice and the way he transposes and there's a part at the end too where John P. Key and Fred Hammond they're kind of like going back and forth, then they sing together, and the way their voices they fit almost within each other.
Hmm.
It does something, and I don't know how they engineer that. I don't know if they're on either side, but it really hits something in there. But then also the content of the music, that's off of scripture, that song. They're
Hmm.
singing a scripture. And that has been that scripture with that song has been really encouraging because I've done I think it's I'm pretty young. Most of my peers, they haven't started a lot of the things that I have or accomplished a lot of the things that I have. So I
Hmm.
have a lot of not being, and also too some of the adults haven't started or done things around, you know what I'm saying? So with that being stated, you kind of feel like you're up there, like, whew, all right, where's my role models? Who am I looking to? Who did it already? Or as Tony Robbins says, who can I model to learn this, right? And so, you when you don't have anyone in front of you directly to look for guidance in that way, looking at the Creator, thank you, God, to do that. So, and they do a great job at articulating that. But Fred Hammond's ability to
Yeah.
transpose, ooh,
Beautiful,
it gets you
beautiful
every time.
song
Yeah.
for sure. Chris, what do you have for number two?
So you're a tough act to follow, Anise, but I'll go ahead and
That's
I'm still proud of mine. I went with the song "Too Little, Too Late, Too Bad" by Rhiannon Giddens. Easy for me to say. Originally from the Carolina Chocolate Drops, who I was a big fan of, and made me think about Janice with the idea of history and the importance of context. And Carolina Chocolate Drops, as well as Rhiannon, have done a great job of reviving the history of Black music, particularly Black string music. That's what the Carolina Chocolate Drops did. Her ability to sing just about any type of song is amazing. This one I love because it's it's a love gone wrong. Her man is cheated on her, doing everything possible not to keep her. And she's not the victim in this song. She is the victor. I mean, in the end, she's like, "You had your chance, you blew it," and hence the refrain, "Too little, too late, and too bad." So I love that song. I love her. I've been listening to her more and more, and that's actually a tribute to Anise because I had always sort of listened to her, but pulling this playlist together has got me into her even more. So thank you for that.
so. The first song I picked for the playlist, as I usually have to, I kind of had to come up with some rules to figure out how to narrow down the songs. I was looking for transportive songs based upon what you had described to us when you suggested the theme. But I also decided to exclude some artists who I've used on, other and particularly more recent playlists. So there's some voices like, well, there's a Fuji song I thought I was going to pick, but we just talked about them not too long ago. There's a country guy named Arlo McKinley, but I've talked about him quite a bit. So I went back, actually back to the 80s, speaking of history, and chose the song Bring Me Some Water by Melissa Etheridge from 1988. It was her self-titled album, and she is one of those people that, particularly those first two albums of hers, when she sings, you kind of just close your eyes and lean back. And that song in particular hit me that way back then, still hits me that way, and that is my first choice for this playlist. So, which takes us then back to you, Anise, and we've got Mariah Carey, Circles.
Yeah, another one of those
Hmm.
when she gets up there in those higher registers. And with her it's more technical because I do enjoy I mean I don't know how to sing myself, but I know when I'm hearing what I'm supposed to be hearing when they're doing what they need to do. When she goes so high and then comes all the way down, it comes back, and then now she's in a head voice, and now then she automatically goes down to the chest voice, and the ability to do that flawlessly without cracking, without and I don't know what kind of skills the engineer has, of course, because we
Right,
hold up
right.
we carry a lot of weight for some of the artists. I've done so myself in the past, and but no, I mean, she's Mariah Carey, so all of her vocals are always up there, and it really does when she talks about "you got me running in circles." There's just some stuff. Look, what's understood don't have to be explained.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. Yeah.
The tough act to follow continues. And you described it perfectly. I can't sing to save my life, but I love music and I know what I like. And one of my favorites, gave me a chance to bring him back up, is a gentleman named William Elliott Whitmore. He's sings more bluesy type of stuff, I would argue. It looks like he's probably in his 30s, or at least he was when he recorded the song. And he sounds like he's about 75 years old, like a 75-year-old blues singer, just with this deep, resonant voice. And this song is topical. It was written years ago, but it's one that is fitting for today's times. The whole idea of, who stole the soul is the name of the song. Sorry if I didn't say that. And it's just living through really difficult times and trying to get your faith, your confidence, all that back. And he does at the end of the song, which is why I find it to be uplifting. But it's an excellent example of his vocal styles, and it's definitely when you can close your eyes and just hear his voice resonating through you.
My next pick for the playlist is a cover song, actually. It's a cover of a Kevin Welch song, and Kevin Welch has written some of those transportive songs for me. But a guy named Solomon Burke covered the song Millionaire on his album Nashville from 2006. Solomon Burke because I think he's still around, kicking around, but a tremendous soul singer. And what he did was he did an album called Nashville, which was basically covers of country songs or Americana type songs, but with his voice, his soul sensibilities to the song. I love the song Millionaire by Kevin Welch. The version that Solomon Burke sings is couldn't be more different, but is somehow even more transportive, I think, than the original. And he's Burke back in the 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, kind of had a resurgence. I think he was doing a lot of singing. Like he was kind of famous in the 60s and 70s, but then he came back and had this kind of little peak there in the early 2000s. And Nashville is a great example of that. So listen, when you get to this playlist, when you find it on Spotify or YouTube Music, look for Millionaire by Solomon Burke, which was number 6, which takes us then to number 7, and that is Time Machine. Denise?
Mm, yeah, I was wondering which one was next. Time Machine by Money Long. But you guys, have you seen any of her things in the press lately?
No.
Um,
Mm-mm.
She just, well, first let me say, Money Long is one of my favorite artists. Not only because she has create a super great singing ability, but also one, she's a great storyteller. And then when you listen to certain people talk and they just say certain everything they say is always a little bit wise. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
you're just like, whoa, okay. That's just in your vocabulary. Okay. What are you reading? That's my biggest thing. I'm like, what are you reading? But no, she was dealing with lupus for a while, and she just announced on Good Morning America that she had like double lung surgery um
Oh,
in
Jesus.
order to she was like life changing. She almost died. And she's back singing again, putting out music again. And before I already found her story inspiring, but Money Long created that song, a whole bunch of songs we know, like It's Going Down, I'm Going Timber, like
Oh,
that
yeah, yeah,
song
yeah.
she wrote for Ariana Grande, just like magic. So she's like well known. She's been a well-known writer for years, like over a decade. And now she has come out as her own artist. So that's another thing. So I just find everything she does, she just never hits, she never misses. The
Mm.
other thing she doesn't miss on, this is why the song is on the list, is she was one of the first artists when she was first coming out as herself. She put the hip hop vibe to the country vibe together. And when you listen to Time Machine at the end of that song, she is doing these country runs, these belting runs, these woes and hays in the background, and it like the way they mesh together is so well. It's done so well. Everything she does, at least everything she puts out, because we don't know the real work behind the scenes, but everything she
Sure.
puts out, it does not miss. It does not miss. And again, just her strength. And you can hear it in her tone and the things she's saying. And then also, again, this whole notion of a time machine, she's wishing she could go back and make better decisions, right? And as historians, we can prevent people from doing that because
Yes.
we know what happened the last time you tried to do this.
Yeah.
Right? Listen to me.
Whew, no kidding.
But
Man.
that's why she's on there.
Hey.
Story, vocals, and writing ability, storytelling ability.
Yeah, I listened to that song. I love it. Love it. Haven't listened to Money Long very much. Although I guess I had and didn't realize it. But
Hmm.
that song's outstanding. It's really good. Chris, what's your last one?
My last one is, since I didn't say the title last time, until way too late. Ain't Gonna Let Nobody Turn Me Around by Sweet Honey in the Rock and James Horner. So, Sweet Honey in the Rock, I've been a fan of forever. Bernice Johnson Regan was one of my advisors when I was in my master's program. Told the story the last time, but nobody gets to hear it, so I'll tell it again. I went to one of my first classes with her. It was a history of slavery. It was just a seminar class, and I'm in a graduate program, so it's hard to tell who the teacher was. Turns out she sat right next to me. I said hi, looking around the room. We're all like wondering, who's the teacher? And then she just started to belt out this old freedom song, and it just scared the crap out of me. Like I wasn't expecting it at all. But then we just sat there in awe because she finished the entire song. It was just, she's got this amazing voice. She's a key part of Sweet Honey in the Rock. She was previously in the Snick Freedom Singers. Her daughter's now out there singing. So it's quite a legacy. She works at the Smithsonian, or did for years and years. So again, another reference back where it makes me think about you, Anise. I'm very happy to add this one to the playlist.
Yeah, that's also an excellent song. You've played that one for me
Yeah.
before. So my final song for the playlist is a blues artist named Ruthie Foster. An album again, early 2000s. I seem to be stuck there. The last couple songs here. The song's called "Joy" from Runaway Soul in 2002, and I think I had told you, Anise, way back when we were talking about you being on the show that we were going to do an episode, Chris and I, which we were eminently unqualified for, but to basically pick our favorite, our top vocalists who were women of color. And somehow Ruthie Foster did not make my list on that episode. I think that was an egregious error on my part. So I was really happy to get her on this playlist. Again, just a powerful, powerful blues voice. She's just fantastic. And it's definitely one of those close your eyes type songs. So that's my final pick for the playlist, which is Joy by Ruthie Foster, which takes us to the final song, which is I'll Go by Donnell Jones.
Yeah. Anything he sings, I will listen to. His voice is just like that. It's
Yeah.
like that. But no, this song, It Always Sends Me One is my favorite song to skate to. When it comes on, I don't know what it's, you know, James Brown songs, Marvin Gaye songs, and then this song, I don't know what it is. Moves get succinct, moves get defined, and they get way more smoother. And that's just how it is. It's just my biology, I guess.
That's
But not only that, though, have you guys watched Love and Basketball,
yes.
the movie?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Great
this
movie.
is that closing out song. And I watched
Oh
Love and
yeah.
Basketball. Yeah, yeah. I watched Love and Basketball a lot as a kid. I used to play basketball. And I like that ending scene. Everything is all great and grand. It's the happy ending, and I'll go. So of course, when you watch stuff with movies, it amplifies the emotional element to a song. So when I heard it out, when I hear it away from the movie, it just does that. It's a nice party song, a nice bop that I feel gets missed and overlooked a lot. You don't hear it often, but when it comes on, you're like, oh yeah, turn that up.
Yeah. That's an excellent finish to this playlist. I think this is going to be a great one to listen to.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. Great topic, or great theme, Anise.
So this playlist will, by the time you hear this episode, will already be out on Spotify, on Apple Music, on YouTube Music, on Amazon Music. Just search for a third song playlist. I think the title is likely to be, we never know for sure, but probably Vocals That Send Me. I think that's as good as any title we could come up with. So it would be Vocals That Send Me, a third song in playlist. And you can search for that wherever you listen to your music. I recommend this one highly and really appreciate your theme, Denise, and also your contribution to the list. It should be a lot of very cool song or a very cool playlist to listen. So I failed to do this a little bit earlier, and I apologize yet again. But I want to make sure that your plugs get out there, Anise. I want to make sure people can find Lestar Production Studios, and I'm very hopeful that they can find your work in other locations, such as, for example, NPR. You mentioned that there's some radio work that you've done for the Radio Players Presents show on NPR. And as I understand it, if we search Radio Players Presents at npr.org, we will find their work, which is also your work. Excellent, excellent. And you can find, if you're looking for someone to take care of your sound design needs, please go to lastarproductionstudios.com. And I'm going to spell that because it's a little unique. It is LASTARR productionstudios.com. And I take it there is a contact us page or link there. So anybody who's got work for you should try to find you there. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Also, you can email Anise directly at h.coopwood@lastarproductionstudios.com, and I urge you to do so. I have listened to and seen some of her work at the museum, and I've also gone online and tracked some of this stuff down. And you may be young, but you know what you're doing, and I am really excited to see what you do next.
Thank you.
Cool.
Well, thank you, Anise. It was a pleasure having you on the show. I'm glad that we could actually get you on tapes in a way that we could actually hear you this time. So we apologize. I apologize for Tom, even though it's hard to blame Tom because he does all the organizing, all the scheduling, everything else for the show. I just sit back and observe and then make fun of him on the one time that we actually had a problem. So, but this was a great interview, great discussion. Thanks so much, Anise.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So now we're going to move on to our next segment, staff picks.
Staff picks is where Tom and I will recommend pretty much new stuff. This is our attempt to replicate what we used to experience in record stores, bookstores, whatever stores, where staff would put up a board and recommend stuff for their customers. And I expect that you will like my stuff better than Tom's. Especially this week. I don't even know if you got to see it yet, but I put in all caps Night Ranger!
Oh my God, I just scrolled down. Fine.
So I keep hearing the Night Ranger is putting out a new album. I mean, they've been around, for 40 years? It is technically a new album, but it's their greatest hits all re-recorded. And as I was driving in this morning, I was cranking You Can Still Rock in America 2026. It's not better than the original, but it's different and it's new and it's Night Ranger. So give it a listen, people.
My staff pick is an artist named Joby Riccio. I think that's how you pronounce her name. I should have looked it up. She came out with an album this year, just earlier in 2026, called Face the Feeling. The way I became aware of her as an artist and of this album is really kind of strange. We were up at 3:30 in the morning in Puerto Rico to leave. We had to catch a very early flight to get out to come home from a short trip. And we were watching what I assumed it has to have been a replay of the Kelly Clarkson show at 3:30 in the morning. I don't watch Kelly Clarkson. I don't know anything about the show. She introduced Joby Riccio as her musical guest, but then just played like a weird music video. I couldn't tell if it was live. I couldn't tell if it was a pre-recorded video. In retrospect, I think it was pre-recorded. But the more I listened to it, the more I like her stuff. I wanted to hear that song again, so I found it on Apple Music. Really, really enjoyed that particular song, but then listened to the whole album and thought it was fantastic. There's a review from Americana UK, the website Americana UK, that says, "This lovely album demonstrates a step forward in songwriting for this alumna of the esteemed Berklee School of Music in Boston." It says it is a fine album of emotional depth and honest self-examination. For what it's worth, she's queer, and there's just this ever-growing contingent, I think, of Americana singers that are LGBTQ singer-songwriters. Adeem the artist is one of my favorites. Brandy Carlisle has been around for a long time. She kind of falls in that list. I think this Joby Riccio is one of those people, but I think that the music is just universal. And I was surprised that Kelly Clarkson turned me on to somebody I like so much, but she did. So anyway, look for that album, Face the Feeling, which just came out this year.
Good choice.
Thanks.
Except for the Kelly Clarkson part.
Yeah, like you say, you find good music everywhere, I suppose.
You did acknowledge that. So, I mean, what the hell? I recommended Night Ranger. So.
Right, I figured I had nowhere to go but up.
All right, that's going to take us to our Loft of Wisdom.
You better open up your eyes, babe, because fools do get wise.
Yep, we like to recommend a quote every week, each of us, for the website. You can find it at thirdsonginpodcast.com. Usually we try to make the quote relate somehow to the theme of the episode or the guest. I didn't really do that this time around, but it's hilarious. And I haven't quoted anything from The Office yet. So from The Office, at one point, Michael Scott says, "I'm not superstitious. I'm a little stitious." I'm going with that.
Yeah, I get it. That works. All right. Unlike Tom, who's just a little stitious, I did choose a quote that relates directly to the episode. And in fact, I already mentioned her name, Bernice Johnson Regan, who is someone I absolutely admire and am grateful for all that she did for me. So I went and looked for a quote from her. There are a number of great ones, but I decided to go with this one. "If every moment is sacred, and if you are amazed and in awe most of the time when you find yourself breathing and not crazy, then you are in a state of constant thankfulness, worship, and humility." Having had the opportunity to learn under Bernice, that is a perfect quote for her.
And you're absolutely right. A perfect quote relating to what Anise had to talk about today, and in particular with our special playlist.
All right, let's not dwell on how perfect my choice was. Well, maybe a little bit longer. Okay.
It was perfect.
It was perfect. And the vocals are good. That's going to take us to what we consider to be the core of Third Song In, our playlist picks.
Every episode, Chris and I each choose a single song to add to our season-long playlist. And I know in my case, my choice for this week was basically just one of the songs that I considered for the special guest playlist that we put together with Anise. I picked the song Fat Tuesday from Tommy Malone, the album Soul Heavy, which came out in 2001. Tommy Malone is basically the Subdueds. Not that there aren't other guys in that band, but his voice is what really catches your ear immediately. This is I close my eyes when I sing along to this song kind of song. And I love it and just almost put it on the other list, but because we've picked a lot of Subdued stuff in the past, decided not to put it on the list with Anise, but figured it would fit in very well with this week's playlist pick.
Yeah, I saw your pick, and I could not agree more. Great choice, and it's amazing because I think the song's almost 6 minutes long. It's not a short song, and it carries you through the entire song. I mean, there's some songs that feel that they drag when they get past that 5 minute mark. His isn't one of them.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that. I didn't realize how long it was.
I mean, I think it's close to 6 minutes. It's pretty long.
Sure.
So I almost put this on the special playlist, but I decided it was just a little too much of a stretch, and I don't know if it exactly fit on the playlist, but it'll fit on our playlist. So I went with Volbeat. They have they have quite a few fantastic songs, but I've been listening to this one over and over, and I apologize. I will likely mispronounce the title, even after listening to it, and he says it a lot. I think it's entitled For Evigt. It's Evigt. And that is a Danish Norwegian phrase that translates to forever or eternally. And this song is, it's one, if you talk about soaring, like he has that operatic voice, I believe, even when he's singing these more heavy metal thrash type songs. But this song brings out all of that. There's a really cool part about it, 2/3 of the way in, where the heavy metal sound, that the operatic uplifting sound is there, and then it's interlaced with almost like a bluegrassy sound that seems totally out of the blue, but it makes it all that much more moving. It's a really cool song. Crank it up in your office and see if your partner comes in and says, "Are you listening to Volbeat?" I believe.
Yeah, that did happen once, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Yeah, this is not a Volbeat song I'm familiar with, so I will crank it up. We'll see what happens. I mean, people will probably come in my office. I'm not sure that they're going to say that, but we'll see what happens. We would like to once again thank Anise Coopwood for being on the show. She is such a cool person.
She is. Yep.
I said at the top of the show, I met her randomly when I went to the Joliet Area Historical Museum. She frankly was just doing her job and introduced herself to my wife and I as we were looking. Frankly, I think we were looking at one of the videos that she did the audio production for. And we just got into a conversation. And the longer I talked to her, the more interesting I thought she was. She's very young. She's not that long out of school. And I just think she has all the potential in the world. So I was really happy she was on the show, and I really enjoyed talking to her. Look for her website, lastarproductionstudios.com. Lastar is Lastarr Productions Studio. Lastar is Lastarr. It's lastarproductionstudios.com. And you can also email her at h.coopwood@lastarproductionstudios.com. If you have any projects, anything you're interested in using sound production, if you need your work immersified with sound, please email Anise.
Third Song In is recorded in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and doubly in Joliet, Illinois today.
Email us with your questions, your suggestions, any comments you may have to thirdsongin@gmail.com.
Check out our website, thirdsonginpodcast.com. All kinds of stuff on that website, but we'd especially ask you to look at the As Mentioned page for information about Anise and how you can contact her and learn more about what she's doing.
Yeah, and we'll actually put a link to the special guest playlist on the website as well. You can find all of that on our As Mentioned page. Please follow, rate, and review our podcast wherever you are listening to it at this time. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, etc. Give us your stars. I'd like your stars. Chris would like your stars. We need your motherfucking stars. We're doing some stuff with stars later on, and we need some extra stars. So please give us all your stars.
Yeah, Tom and I have tried to be stars. It hasn't worked out, so we're just collecting stars.
Exactly.
That's what we're doing. If you can give us stars for our playlist, we'd ask you to do that too. Otherwise, share those motherfuckers with anyone who will listen. As you just heard, some really great stuff out there. The playlist with Anise is going to be one of our better ones. You can find all of them by searching for Third Song In, or you can look on Spotify and search for T. Polachek. That should take you to most of them much more easily.
Please also follow us on social media. We have a Facebook page, Instagram, Blue Sky. You can search Third Song In and find all of those things. We try to keep you updated with information, dates, details, and new releases from all of our past and future guests.
You know what? We're also on Substack. Tom and I put a blog out each week. How we do it, I'm starting to wonder how, but we do. You can subscribe to those blogs on Substack. If you do that on Friday morning, you'll get an email that'll take you directly to the latest one.
You've been listening to Third Song In with Chris Derrickson and Tom Polachek. Thanks for listening. That was like watching some kind of beginner's mime class. I can't hear you. And it's not just that I don't want to. I can't.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, got you.
All right, fuckface.
Fuckface. That's where we're starting today, is with fuckface. All right.
Yeah.
At least I know the tenor of the conversation.